Hi. This is chapter 8. I'm sorry, this is not me like the best. Because honestly, right now, I don't know how much you know and how much you don't know, and so it's hard for me to like cover everything and not like bore you into tears and cover very little and lose you. So I'm trying to cover what I think is relevant. But if it doesn't make any sense, just send me an email saying, like, can you go over this topic? And I'll make another recording that covers that little specific topic. Okay. All right. All right. Share screen. Right. Okay. So the central nervous system. So the body is split into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The sensory nervous, the central nervous system, okay, receives input for sensory neurons. Okay, it processes all that input and it directs the activity of motor neurons that innervate the muscles and glands. Okay. Um, Okay, the association neurons integrate sensory information and help direct appropriate responses to maintain homeostasis and eventually respond to the environment. Okay. Okay, so here's the nervous system. Okay, the embryonic development of the nervous system comes from the ectonerve. The ectonerve starts with a neural tube. Okay, about 20 days after conception, that neural tube will eventually be treated with CNS. Okay, what I want you guys to understand is the brain is a part of the spinal cord more than the spinal cord is a part of the brain. You start off with a tube, and then like one end of the tube becomes larger than the rest of the tube. That end is the brain. Okay. From that tube, from neural tube, there's a neural crest that comes out. That will become the PNS ganglia. Okay. So here, okay, this is the groove. That's the crest. The groove eventually turns into a tube. Okay, and that tube is your brain and spinal cord. Okay, the anterior end of the tube, okay, will turn into, the superior end of the tube will turn into the brain. The inferior end of the tube will stay the spinal cord. Okay. Okay. All right. 4 weeks after conception, 3 distinct swellings are seen on the neural tube. The protocephalon, so forebrain, the mesocephalon, midbrain, and the rhombocephalon, the hindbrain. Okay. At week 5, these regions differentiate. Okay, the forebrain develops into the telencephalon, which will turn into the cerebrum. Okay, and the diencephalon, the mesocephalon will stay the mesocephalon and turn into the midbrain. The hindbrain will turn into metencephalon and myencephalon. Okay, the way to remember these guys, met, and my, is literally in not numerical, alphabetical order. Okay, so here, these are in alphabetical order. Okay, the myencephalon turns into medulla oblongata, the very base of the brain. The metencephalon turns into the pons of cerebellum. Okay. 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 The latter development, telencephalon becomes the hemispheres. Okay. And the 2 lateral ventricles. The diencephalon gets the hypothalamus, thalamus, and the 3rd ventricle. The mesocephalon gets the midbrain and the cerebral aqueducts. And the metencephalon and myencephalon share the fourth ventricle, okay, and the posterior nervous becomes the spinal cord. Okay. Okay. The florid plexus and the cerebral spinal fluid. Basically, okay, the cerebral spinal fluid helps your brain float. Okay, your brain is really, really soft material, and if you just let it sit on the base of the skull, it will crush itself, and so the brain has to float. And so what it floats in is called cerebral spinal fluid. The cerebral spinal fluid is made in ventricles, and it surrounds the ventricles, and then it goes around the brain and helps the brain float. Okay, so there's the ventricles. All right. Okay, the brain statistics. Yep, gray matter forming the cortex and deep nuclei. The white matter is deep, forming tracts. Okay, so gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is going to be cell bodies and dendrites. Okay, the white matter is going to be axons that are myelinated, which is why it's white. Okay, a group of axons traveling together in the CNS is called a tract. Okay, the adult brain has 100 billion neurons and weighs about 1.5 kilograms, and it receives 15% of the total blood flow to the body per minute at rest. Okay, think about how much that actually is. Okay, 3 pounds getting 15% of your blood. Okay. Okay. Scientists have demonstrated neurogenesis in the adult brain within the certain regions, the hippocampus and lateral ventricles. Okay, but that doesn't happen often. Okay. All right. Okay. So introduction to cerebellum or cerebrum. The cerebrum is developed from the telencephalon. It's the largest part of the brain, actually about 83% of the total mass. It's responsible for higher mental functions like logic, reasoning, math skills, remembering your name, remembering how to do well in physiology exam, what you're learning right now. Okay, it consists of a left and right cerebral hemisphere that's connected by the corpus callosum. Okay. All right, the most important region is this outer region of the cerebrum, okay, called the cerebral cortex. Okay, and it's 2 to 4 millimeters of gray matter. Okay, that is where all the cell bodies are, and that is where all the processing occurs. Okay, underneath that is the white matter. White matter is just passageways. Okay. All right, each hemisphere is divided by the foci or fissures into 5 lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, insula. Okay. This. Okay. We'll skip all this. Hopefully you guys learn this in anatomy. Okay. And this as well. Okay. So that you can read yourselves. Okay. Mirror neurons are found in the frontal parietal lobes to integrate sensory and motor neural activity. Okay, they're connected through the insula and cingulate gyres to the motion centers in the body. Okay, they're involved in the ability to learn social skills and language. I don't know what they do for autism. I really don't actually. Okay, so visualizing the brain. Okay, you can get X-rays, so CT scans. Okay, PET scans. Okay. Okay. Can be used to monitor growth, brain metabolism, cancer. Okay. Okay. The highest level is MRIs. Okay. So the magnetic resonance imaging. Okay. This can be amplified by using MRI contrast agents before the imaging. It shows differences between gray matter, white matter, cerebral spinal fluid, so you can get a very clear view of the brain. You can actually do something even better than that, and that's called fMRI. At where your brain is working, there is increased blood flow. Okay, increased blood flow can change the MRI, and so if you're in an MRI machine and you're thinking about something, then parts of your brain go off. If you're talking, other parts of your brain go off. If you're having sex, other parts of your brain go off, and they've actually done that. So so you can trace like what part of your brain does what. Okay. Okay. MEGs, magnetoencephalogram, okay, are based on magnetic fields by the post-synaptic currents. Okay, so any electrical current generates a magnetic field, and therefore you can measure the magnetic field, okay, and actually visualize it. Okay, EEGs. Okay, so our brain works through electrical current. Okay. Oh. Okay. So the electrodes on the scalp can detect synaptic potentials produced by the cell bodies and dendrites in the cerebral cortex. Okay. You can see the four types of wave: alpha, beta, theta, and delta. Okay. And you can see the patterns. So these are alpha waves, these are beta waves, these are slow waves or delta waves, and these are theta waves. Okay. Um, okay. Sleep might be genetically controlled. So there are people who need more sleep and people who need less sleep. Okay. The neurotransmitters involved: histamine, okay, causes wakefulness, and adenosine, GABA, um, induces sleep. Serotonin induces something called REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and stimulates non-REM sleep. Okay. All right. So two categories of sleep: REM sleep. Okay. Um, REM is rapid eye movement. So this is a state when dreams occur. Okay. So if you don't go into REM sleep, you can go crazy. So REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is called resting sleep. It's divided in 4 stages, determined by EEG waves. Okay. Stage 3 and stage 4 are usually called slow wave sleep, characterized by delta waves, which are slow waves. Okay. All right. When people first fall asleep, they enter non-REM sleep and then progress through the 4 stages. Okay. Next, the person is then back up the stages of non-REM sleep to REM sleep. This cycle repeats every 90 minutes. Okay, which is why a 90-minute nap time is actually a good thing. And most people go through 5 per night. Okay. If allowed to awaken naturally, people usually do so during REM sleep. It is a good thing to wake up naturally. Like honestly, if you can get away with not setting an alarm clock, don't set an alarm clock. Waking up naturally, actually, the patterning in your brain is better. Okay. Okay. And keeps you alert longer. Okay, that's why you should not use an alarm clock. Um, okay, some brain regions are more active during REM sleep than during waking sleep. Limbic system, especially limbic system. Okay. 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 Non-REM sleep. When you fall asleep, the non-REM sleep, the neurons decrease their firing rates, decreasing blood flow to the brain and energy metabolism. Okay. Um, the non-REM sleep might allow repair of metabolic damage in the cells. Okay, allow for neuroplasticity mechanisms or memories. Okay, this is why like sleeping is important for formation of memories, and we'll talk more about that later. But if you don't sleep, you don't form long-term memories. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna keep this short, and we'll stop part one right here. Actually. All right.